Hi folks, so we're off to Brighton today. Like I was saying to you yesterday, we're going to Brighton University, me and John, and we're going to be doing a little talk there. And then after that we'll probably spend a couple of hours in Brighton, have a little mooch round. There was something else and it's gone completely out of my head, but never mind, that's typical of me. So I'll just give you a look. We're just passing through, or we did stop at Gatwick Airport. There it goes. Ooh, we might even see an airplane fly over yet. No, typical timing. There isn't one going over, because they fly right over the track here actually, because there's I think there's a, what do you call, I can't even remember what you call the flipping thing it lands on. What do you call that? Oh dear. There we are, look. Oh, you can see all the airplanes, look at that. Way. Oh, look, there's an EasyJet taking off. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I was going to say landing strip, but it's not called a landing strip, is it? What do they call the flipping thing? I hate when that happens. Right, okay, so would you like to say anything, John? Would you like to say hello, or...?
Yeah, I don't mind. Hello folks, it's a lovely sunny day. Paul and I, we're looking forward to going to Brighton and dispensing the pearls of our wisdom, eh Paul?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So yeah, we're going to have a nice day. It's lovely and sunny, and yeah, I think that's all I can think of right now. Yeah. But we'll definitely film. I'll definitely film a bit of Brighton for you anyway. Yeah. So especially for my American subscribers.
Okay, folks. See you later.
Catch you folks later. Bye for now.
Research making the invisible visible in terms of homelessness, and people sort of look at me and sort of think, well, they're kind of pretty visible anyway. But in terms of our health data, this is taken outside our local hospital in London, but in terms of our health data, they're more or less invisible unless we develop mechanisms to make them so. This next slide was really also taken just a few yards from our hospital, and also trying to illustrate the fact that even amongst the homeless there is inequality. These people, very thin mattress, these people, very thick one. But it's easy to fall through the gaps. This was the next night. That relative advantage of having the thick mattress pretty soon disappeared. So all of this is really a symptom of wealth distribution and how we choose to distribute wealth within our society. This essentially shows from the poorest 10% of the population what they earn to the richest 10% of the population what they earn. And so we can, and this is before tax and this is after tax. Sorry. So, I didn't realise this is a touch-sensitive screen. So if we look at this, over £100,000, the average for the top decile, which coincidentally is about the average income in Kensington and Chelsea, which was really why my next slide was here. To illustrate this extraordinary disparity that we get in income inequality between races. And it seems to be extraordinary that it takes a disaster such as this for a government to start to say, oh, we really need to look at housing, and we really need to look at the quality of life of people living in socially deprived areas. It's shocking, really. This wealth distribution, if you look at it in different ways, this really shows how much of the wealth goes to which proportion of the population. So if you look at the richest 10% of the population, they earn 45% of the wealth. In fact, if you look at the top third of the population, they earn over 75% of the wealth. If we look at the bottom third of the population, less than 2%. How can that happen? So this is a rather depressing slide, I think, in terms of what we're likely to see in the future in inclusion health. I can't see things particularly getting much better quickly here. But I'd like to bring this to a slightly more global perspective. So this is a map that's really scaling the map according to the proportion of the population who live on over $200 per day. And you can see it grossly distorts the geography of the world, with America as and indeed Europe as hugely bloated in terms of their amount of wealth compared to other parts of the world. And we hear reports, and I think these things are hard to judge, but we're also seeing this phenomenon of really the absolutely mega rich, where you've got a handful of people who are owning really this figure from Oxfam. World's 8 richest people have the same wealth as the poorest 50%. I'm going to show you a series of quotes from Donald Trump to illustrate why we might be in such difficulty, or particularly why the United States might be so. So this is what he was saying before his election. The point is, you can never be too greedy. The beauty of me is that I'm very rich. It's just what you want in your politicians. These graphs really show income inequality across a series of countries against different indices, so in this case infant mortality. And so we can see the USA is usually at the top right-hand side of these graphs because it has the highest levels of income inequality. And so, you know, the USA boasts about its economy and the fact that it's one of the strongest economies in the world. How come it can have one of the highest infant mortality rates of any of these countries? And so this is the sort of response from Trump in terms of providing the sort of health services that can provide good antenatal services. Obamacare is destroying our country, it's destroying our businesses. Obesity. Where's America? Right up here, USA. We're not doing too badly either. And here's my video that I thought you might find amusing.
I don't know how you do it. I put together some really impressive deals. But this thing you've pulled off, it's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret?
Got a buck. You're in luck. Because you can get a delicious beefy, big and tasty, a McChicken sandwich, and lots of your other favorites on McDonald's Dollar Menu every day.
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
So he's going to be having a major influence on public health policy, so good luck with that. This was another thing, his response to when asked about obesity. Maths and literacy, again, USA do pretty badly in this respect, given their level of income. The UK, we don't do too badly given the level of inequalities, and actually I think education is one of the things that can help to insulate against the impact of inequalities, and so that's a really important thing to push. Teenage pregnancy, the USA, right up here. UK, still pretty bad as well. Here's what Donald Trump had said about teenage mothers. Shouldn't get public assistance unless they jump through some pretty small hoops. Making them live in group homes makes sense. Very nice. use, USA, right at the right-hand side. And it's interesting, actually, Donald Trump has changed his views on how to tackle drugs. So before he was really standing for political office, he was quite progressive in a way in terms of thinking about the war on drugs being relatively futile and potentially making the problem worse. Whereas as it came up to the election, he's much more falling into line about the way to tackle drugs is really to stop them coming into the country, and particularly relating this to the issues of Mexico and the border with Mexico. Homicide rates, well, goodness me, right up there, which of course is not only down to inequality, but inequality fueled by guns. And again, so Donald Trump's response to this, if you take the guns away from the good people, the bad ones are going to have target practice. Well, I don't know. And then imprisonment again, USA, extraordinarily high imprisonment rate. UK, also one of the highest imprisonment rates per population. And again, this was just a quote from Donald showing his understanding of these issues. Of course, actually, if you look at those indicators, most of those are really down to politicians to be able to have influence on those sorts of things. And of course, actually, we've seen a big change, I think, in the mood around the acceptability of austerity in the last month. Despite the press, we are seeing the beginning of public opinion that is recognising the fact that these levels of austerity can't continue. So these mortality statistics, to me, I think, I mean, the canary in the mine, I say this because I think these should really point to us that there is something toxic in our society that is bad for the health of us all.
So, I lead a small NHS counselling service for homeless people in Westminster, and this is exactly some of the issues we've been struggling with over many years. Appointment times, people are actively addicted, they slip in and out of different states of consciousness, they may be suffering from a whole host of social phobias, heightened anxiety levels, all sorts of challenges. So we based ourselves on the work of Jay Levy, who's done a lot of work in the States, but more of on an outreach basis, and how can outreach workers engage in a constructive, positive way long-term, chronically homeless people who avoid engaging with outreach teams, who purposefully hide themselves in the darkest recesses of parks or of car park lots. So he developed a pre-treatment guide, but obviously I was much more interested in from a psychological point of view and from a psychotherapeutic point of view. So because of that, we decided, because we were all trained in the traditional psychotherapeutic counselling models, appointment-based, regular attendance, and so we had to adapt. And the way we adapt was by using Jay's framework, but I had the great luck of meeting Paul many, many years ago, and of being able to use Paul, who very willingly allowed himself to be used as a key informant, as a man of great experience. He'll tell you his story. I'm going to shut up very soon. of using his 25 years of experience on the streets to inform and guide myself and my colleagues in designing our service to make it appropriate for people and enable people to use it. So we have drop-in sessions and we've also got groups. With Paul, we set up anger support and management groups, alcohol and addictions support, discussion groups, and they were all very much based on Alcoholics Anonymous principles, but they were co-facilitated by Paul, myself, now by other colleagues and other peer mentors who have volunteered. So again, it's this balance between a structure that's not imposing, that's not overbearing, but that offers some kind of guidance. And please.
Can I just clarify what you mean by adapted from AA? Are you talking about co-facilitated group work? Or are you talking about 12-step ideal?
No.
Go on, please, Paul, go.
Yeah, basically when John approached me about this, I just thought we could base it very, very loosely on an AA style, in the sense that it would be a supportive group like AA, it can be, and people can share if they wish. They don't have to share if they don't want to, and they can come and go as they please, sort of thing. And that's literally basically it. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, very, very loosely on that sort of style.
But what we've done is we have group principles. So they're not group rules, which is, but we've got group principles which are adapted from AA. So there's a will to be there, there's a desire to be there, to discuss anger issues. We've avoided anger management purposely, because many people have been in and out of prison, they've been subjected to anger management programs, which have more or less failed or more or less worked, and it's got a whole host of associations linked to anger management. So that's why we've gone for discussion and support instead. So that's enough from me, because I really want Paul to share his journey, to give you a taster of what a humane, fairly structured approach can achieve.
Right, how do I follow on from that? Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of I'm going to develop my own set of slides at some point and do a sort of presentation myself. I've been thinking about this for a little while. I did make these slides, by the way, just to show. Yeah, so like just recently, I used to deliver the cuff training. I don't know if people are aware of the KUF. I used to deliver that training. I did it for 7 years. Really loved it, very passionate about it, and absolutely adore doing it. But sadly, the company that provided me most of the work, Emergence, I don't know if people have heard of Emergence. It's a service-led organisation that sadly went into liquidation last year. Funding and all that sort of thing, and the usual thing. So anyway, for a good while I was unemployed. I recently, 3 months ago, of all things decided to go for, I now work in Pret a Monge. But now the reason why I'm mentioning this, and it links into what John was saying, but because it's made me realise the value of having paid employment, to be quite honest. Because in terms of, I mean, because I've been out of hospital since 2007. And you know, there's been ups and downs all the way through that, blah 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 blah. But the periods where I've had nothing, no work, and not doing any of the training or anything like that, have been the most depressing, most, I don't know, it's hard to, I'm trying to find a way of describing it and I can't at the moment, but I really struggled around not having anything to do. And it might seem like a really mundane, really sort of like, you know, working at Pret a Manger, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, you know, just serving people coffees and stuff. I mean, does that seem like a really rich and fulfilling thing necessarily? But from my perspective, it is. Do you know what I mean? Because like, I've got a reason to get up, you know, in the morning sort of thing. I feel worthwhile, and just my whole self-esteem, my, you know, the whole psychological impact of having something to do, it's just amazing. And the thing is, when I went for my training day, my first training day, you don't actually do anything necessarily, they just kind of show you the ropes and you have a little go at little bits and bobs. And then they put me upstairs where the tills are, and I'm terrified. I'm kidding you not, I was absolutely terrified. And it was noticed by the rest of the team, because you get evaluated by the team that you work with, yeah? And depending on how they find you, depends on whether you actually get the job or not. And luckily they all thought like, no, Paul's okay, blah, 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 blah. And so downstairs in the kitchen, they had me making the sandwiches. And I love doing that because I'm not with the public. You know what I mean? I'm downstairs with the team and I'm just, if I make a mistake, it's just in front of them. So anyway, the following week when I started my job proper sort of thing, where did they put me? On the tills. Do you know what I mean? The place where I'm most frightened. But I'm glad they did, because I'm learning so much. I'm learning about the fact, and it's not just about the job itself, but about me, and about how to deal with the issues that I have. Because sometimes, not often, I'm glad to say, most of the public are okay. Most of the public are quite understanding, and even if I get it wrong, or I do the wrong thing, or whatever, most public are quite okay. But of course you get the odd one or two that are going to really give it you in the neck sort of thing. And I have to learn to let go of it straight away. I can't hang on to it, I can't allow myself to be wounded by it, which I initially am, sort of thing, but I have to let go of it because I've got another customer to deal with, and I've got to be pleasant and happy to that customer. And even though it's going against how I'm feeling inside, so the whole experience is teaching me so much about how to be an adult, how to be a grown-up, how to be responsible, and you know, it's like with the post-treatment stuff and the intervention stuff. It's like when I was homeless for 20 years, roundabout. John got it slightly out. It's 20 years, not 25. But yeah, anyway, so like when I first came to London back in 2003, and at that point, like say it was about, I guess, 19 years, whatever, because I was 18 months roughly thereabouts on the streets of London. And at that point, I seriously believed I would spend the rest of my life and I would die on the street. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think I would achieve anything or amount to anything or do anything in my life. And it was funny because back in Manchester, where I come from, in all those years, and I swear to God, I'm kidding you not, I never once had an outreach worker approach me, ever. Do you know what I mean? Now, whether that was because the services were different then or whatever, I'm not entirely sure. I had lots of interventions from like probation, you know, from the courts, or, well, you know, because obviously I got into trouble with the police for very much what you were saying about stealing alcohol from the what's names and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Like, so there was lots of opportunities and times where I could probably have circumvented a lot of that. But it's that sense of like, you know, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, do you know what I mean? You know, for whatever reason, and at that point, I hadn't been formally diagnosed. My diagnosis was borderline personality disorder, which basically means I have trouble regulating my emotions. But these days, it's a lot better. I do deal with it a lot better. And it's from doing stuff like this as well. I mean, I'm sat here doing this. I might sound quite confident to you or whatever, but I'm actually quaking in my boots right now. I'm actually panic. But you see, this is really good experience. It helps me to learn because I've got to try and say to myself, right, Paul, yes, you might think that you're all over the place and you might not be being absolutely coherent, because sometimes I can do this and it'll come off like a dream. And there are other times when I just get really, really all nervous and all sort of anxious, and what I want to say doesn't necessarily come out. But from other people's perspective, it's kind of like, you know, it sounds all fine, sort of thing. But to me, and I guess it's that critical, that part of my head that's been really overcritical. It's like, Paul, get to the point, do this. But yeah, so like I said, the intervention stuff. If I had outreach workers come when I got to London, I was fending them off. You know what I mean? There was that many of them coming approaching me. I had to fend them off. Go away. You know what I mean? There was just so many coming up to me and like, you know, talking to me and like, would you like to come to this day centre and little and all this lot. And at that point, I didn't want to know. Do you know what I mean? I just didn't want to know. Don't go away. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? As far as I resigned myself to the fact that this is how I'm going to live the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? So there's no point in you guys coming along and trying to help me because, you know, there's not much point. Loads of other people have tried. Nothing ever worked. And so, like I say, when I was working with John and the Jane Levy thing and what have you, I think if somebody like John had approached me, or an outreach worker using John's approach sort of thing, I don't know, things might have been different. Do you know what I mean? I might have been a bit more responsive, perhaps. Do you know what I mean? Because it always felt very much kind of like we're not doing this really because we want to help you. We're doing it because, like, the rest of society says we don't want to see all these homeless people on the street. It's very untidy and unclean. We want to clean the streets up, so that's why we're doing it. That's how it came across to me. I'm not saying that that's what their motive was. It's just the way it impacted on me at the time. And there was something else that me and John were talking about on the train, and again, it's something that's come about from doing the work I'm doing now, the prep thing. Also with a personal friendship of mine at the moment, a friend of mine who's going through a lot of stuff himself, and I think I put too much expectation on him, to be quite honest, because he's at a different stage than I am in terms of his recovery, and I suppose I put too much expectation that he should be like this kind of thing. So I fell foul of that same thing that sometimes people do, where you work with somebody or whatever, and you have high levels of expectation of that person, then they let you down. They have a relapse or whatever sort of thing, and it hits you hard sort of thing. And then, like, I was thinking about this a bit more, and I was thinking about it, and I started to realise also, and I can fall into the same trap, whereby sometimes, and this is not a criticism of the people out there with the traumatised situations and that. This isn't a criticism of them necessarily, because this is perfectly normal. This is what you would do in those situations to survive. Yeah? But sometimes we fall into the trap where we won't take personal responsibility for our actions. Yeah? We have to take personal responsibility sometimes for the people that we're working with, because sometimes we can use that as an excuse. So, like John was explaining something about a particular client that got really angry with him and said something very personal to John, and it upset John, and John felt that he hadn't dealt with it in the perhaps the right way, because it was a personal thing, and it hit him in the quick sort of thing, and so, you know, he reacted in the moment sort of thing, which any normal human being would do. But also the client needs to take some responsibility for that as well, because the thing is, if you let them off the hook too much, they're just going to continue. It's like a child. When a child does something wrong, if you don't correct the child, it's going to continue doing that same behaviour, because it's not learning. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't learn from that, you know, it just continues to repeat the same behaviour sort of thing. It's like I've had to learn to take personal responsibility for my actions, because if I don't, I ain't going to learn. I'm going to keep making those same mistakes over and over again. And so sometimes it's a bit like that tough love thing, do you know what I mean, where you know, and again, it's not about being horrible or nasty or whatever, and this, that, and the other. It's just about helping them to realise that that behaviour that they're exhibiting, although was protective at one time, is now being counterproductive for them. Do you know what I mean, sort of thing. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and like I said, you know, this aspect of like having purposeful, meaningful, you know, something meaningful and purposeful in your life that helps you, you know, because, like I say, I mean, I know it sounds, when I say it, and I think to myself, everyone's thinking like, I mean, flipping heck, you know, it's just a coffee shop, what's the big deal, like, you know what I mean? But, you know, and compared to the work I was doing in terms of delivering the cup training, you know, it's like, because that was so rewarding, so fulfilling, and, you know, it's like I loved having really deep intellectual discussions with people. I mean, earlier on, your discussion about when we were talking about the politics thing and people started getting into a little bit of that. And, like, it's funny, I've sat at the back there and I was thinking to myself, you know, I think I might have to start coming to these conferences because my passion just starts getting so... Because it's like, I've watched a lot of stuff on the internet, loads of different things, rubbish and not rubbish. And there's something I've watched recently, well, I say recently, I watched it a few years back, but I've recently re-watched it. And again, I won't go into all the ins and outs of it because, like, I can't fully explain it exactly anyway, but it's called the Zeitgeist Movement and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, and da, da, da. Anyway, the thing is that ever since I've watched those videos, I cannot see the world in the same way anymore. I just can't, you see. And so when I hear you discussing about policies and money, do you know what I mean, and can the government do this or that and this, that and the other, after watching those videos, it frustrates me so much because we're all trapped in our own little bubble. We can't escape our perspective from our experiences of our lives. And so, like, to be able to stand back from it and look and see and realise, because, like, the thing is that one of the things they advocate for is doing away with the monetary system. And you might think to yourself, what? Hey, get rid of the monetary system. How can we survive? How can we live without money? Do you know what I mean? That's how the world goes round. Ah, but is it? Do you know what I mean? And what they say is that it's the natural systems that we need to focus on. So that it's a resource-based economy, where the resources go where they're needed the most. Do you know what I mean? And we have the technology, the capability to have a world of plenty. Do you know what I mean? The thing is that, like, the system is built in a way that, like, I mean, it's like that computer over there. When that was built, yeah, they deliberately built it so that it's called planned obsolescence. Yeah, they planned it in so that the computer would fail at a certain point, deliberately. You know, and it made sense at the time because you think about it. If you've got a computer company and you make a computer that lasts a lifetime, you're going to be out of business. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is that, like, I know. Again, I didn't really want to get into all that really necessarily because I'm kind of going off the point. I don't know. It's just that, like I say, my passion gets raised, and because, like I said, I just cannot see the world in the same way anymore because. And like I said, it's not a utopia either. It's not a utopian vision. And the thing is, from what I've learned from that is that we can have a world of plenty, where everybody has plenty, everybody's housed, everybody's mental health is taken care of. We have a better society where the society looks after everybody else. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like looking after number one sort of thing. I mean. This lady here said about 1970s and I forget exactly what he was saying, but again when he was talking about that and I was thinking about, and again no disrespect or anything, but I don't know when you were born or how old you are, but the thing is that, like, again you're born in an era where sort of like you're fed from an early age that, like, this is the way the system is, and this is the way the system is best for everybody, and so on, and and the thing is, I don't. With political parties and stuff like that, none of them, whether it's Labour, whether it's the Green Party, whether it's whoever, yeah, none of them have really got the answers. Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately, it's all about self-interest. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is that, like. For me, and I know again this sounds like the most ridiculous statement in the world, but we need to do away with politics. Do away with politicians. Just exactly what does politicians do? If you went to a politician and said to them, do you know how to get rid of homelessness? They wouldn't have a clue, would they? Do you know what I mean? Why don't you not go in government? Why don't you, because you're the experts, you know about these things. Do you know what I mean? What does the politician know? Do you know what I mean? It's like if you went to a politician and says, like, do you know how that computer works? No, they don't. I mean, like I said, with the Zeitgeist thing, one of the things they say is, like, we should be governed by the laws of nature. You can't change the laws of nature. You can change human law. Human law can be changed. But natural law, the laws of nature, you can't change them. Do you know what I mean? And this building, this place that we're sat in now, it's a seat of logic and learning, of science. And that's what they say we should base our decisions on. Science, knowledge, understanding. Not flipping the whims of, like, Tom, Dick and Harry down the road or whatever sort of thing. So, hang on, sorry, I've gone right on to what's the name? Sorry, it's just that, like I say, I get passionate about it. And, you know, when I go to work in the morning, to prep, it's the one in Victoria, not the big one, but the little one on the thing. I go there, I've got a 7 AM start, and I get there for about 6 o'clock in the morning. And you walk around Victoria, around there, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you see how many people are sleeping out there. Do you know what I mean? It'll break your heart. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, and I walk around and I see those people, and I think to myself, for crying out loud, this doesn't have to be like this. Do you know what I mean? It's just about, it's the, somebody mentioned it earlier on as well, it's about the social engineering, if you like, changing the attitude of people to realise, you know, because the thing is, like you're saying that as well, that even the rich person will benefit if we think in a logical way, sort of thing. Even they can have a quality of life, an even better quality of life. Do you know what I mean? It's just like so short-sighted. And the thing is, again, I'll try and finish on this quickly. I was telling John on the train that, like, one of my little pet theories at the moment is, like, because I think, again, you mentioned it yourself about when we were talking about the inequality of the income thing, that, you know, this said, you know, Donald Trump said, like, about greed, sort of thing. See, I seriously don't think, yeah, now I could be completely wrong, and this could be complete, utter rubbish, but I just find it really hard to believe that people are that greedy. I mean, if you're, say, Bill Gates, for instance. Now, I don't know about what I'm saying, but his amount of money, yeah, Bill Gates. If you've got that amount of money, why do you need tax breaks? Why do you need more money? And my little theory is that because, like I've said before, and the Zeitgeist thing, if you watch those videos, you'll see it on there as well, is that the 2008 crash will be a walk in the park compared to what's coming, because they know it's coming. You think all our monetary system's fine now? Do you know what I mean? It's going to crash again, and it's going to crash big time this time. Do you know what I mean? Now, when it'll happen, I don't know, and I don't think they know either exactly. But it is going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's unsustainable. You know that they make money out of debt. Do you know that? Sorry.
Well, I think we need time for questions.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I'm going on my high horse again. I apologise. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
But yeah,
Wrap up, please.
yeah. So basically, it's been a great journey, and you know, the interventions that John's doing is you know, goes without question, to be quite honest. I mean, that's what you need to do. It's like, people are hard to reach sometimes. You know, like I said, when I was on the street and, you know, people approached me, I didn't want to know, I didn't want to engage. And how do you engage people that don't want to engage? And for me, it's like when I go back from work sometimes, I take a bunch of sandwiches from prep and what have you, and I go and sit down and talk to some of the homeless guys. I just sit there and talk to them. Do you know what I mean? I don't ask them, like, how long you've been homeless or this, that, blah, blah, blah. Say, oh, mate, how are you going? Having a nice day? Whatever, you know, just make small talk, chit-chat. Do you know what I mean? And I just mentioned then, oh, I was homeless for 20 years and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully, I instill maybe a little bit of hope there that they might think, I don't know, if that guy can do it, who knows? Do you know what I mean? Maybe. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry. I know.
Thank you. No, that's all right.